And people living in disadvantaged neighborhoods report a lot higher rates of problem gambling than those living elsewhere. And this could affect Hawaii County because almost 16% of residents in our county are below the poverty level. And we don't need to increase gambling opportunities because the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reports those living within 10 miles of a casino, it's not bingo, but it's gambling in general, in 10 miles of a casino are 90% more likely to be problem gamblers. A Canadian report reinforces this. They say and they also say there could be increases in problem gambling if there's a new, previously unavailable venue for gambling. The National Coalition Against Legalized Gambling says 1 to 3% of people in the U.S. are addicted to gambling, and that might not seem high, but each addict can impact a lot of people. The Canadian report found problem gambling affects friends and families, contractors not paid for work, students showing up to school in distress, and neighbors witnessing violence and crime. This report also found a high proportion of problem gamblers had thoughts of committing suicide, and the report points out that Las Vegas had one of North America's highest per capita suicide rates for the past 50 years. And a study of gambling in Alberta estimated 10% of all suicides in Alberta are gambling related. Some states tried to get revenue through lotteries, but didn't do real well. They wanted funds for education, but less than 1% to 5% of total revenue for K-12 education in 2006 came from lotteries. So the states tried increasing the prizes, but then there's less money going to the education. And the states started introducing games that emphasize instant gratification and more potentially addictive forms of gambling. Our county council a few years ago passed a resolution against gambling. Also, the Hawaii State Association of Counties and City of County of Honolulu have voted against legalized gambling, and I hope you will oppose high-stakes bingo. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next testifier is Tim Rees. He's going to be commenting on Communication 220 and 221. Morning, Tim.
There you are. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Yes, speaking on 46-1 and good morning, committee members. Speaking on excuse me here, let me get this together. On Communication 220 regarding HRS 46-1.5, I've been really intimately involved with this particular Hawaii Revised Statute for about 8 years. I've been in court on matters relating to this, and I hope that, I've heard that this has been held in committee, but I think that as a precaution that the council, this committee should have a discussion on this matter. It's extremely important, and I would strongly recommend if council members haven't really familiarized themselves with this particular statute, read it over and over again if you ever get any free time after weeks like this week. And as an example, try to look at subsection number 24. It's 7 pages regarding how it interacts very strongly with any kind civil penalties that you might impose down the road. And so when you look at that and you see the rigmarole that you actually have to go through, this whole thing about often decriminalizing certain statutes, you create a burden for the administrative processing sometimes on certain violations. So that's an example. It's one small subsection of this statute. It's 7 pages long. It's a mess for anybody trying to implement it as it is. Now, my concern here, I don't know why the state's doing this, is with subsection 13. 12, 13, and 14 are pretty much the main core area you really need to know about this bill. It's about local county police matters and where you can go. I'm distressed to see them taking out the terms protect health and life, and then reformatting it to put protect property or preserve the order and security of Das County and its inhabitants. It starts sounding a little SS to me, a little bit of Staat control, on the people. Forget about the protective side where we're closer to our government. It's like this thing about being enemies of the cops. There's forces that like that, keep the people not too close to their police department. It's us and them. Keep this division in a society. Certain people make a lot of money off of that. Obviously, when it is needed, it's needed. But here, I can't for the life of me determine why they would take out those two terms. And if I were a county council member, I'd fight for those two words alone on that. The last thing on that, if I can real quick, William Isla said that he put in a request to the state about seizing property used in violation of any law, rule, or regulation. I see they also put in similar language about extending not just to statutes, but rules and regulations. William Isla said he did that so they could seize firearms. The importance of why this county needs to be involved in these legislations that are pending is because he so overbroadly worded it that it would apply to any possible type of violation. Our legislators can do better work than that. Thank you. On Communication 221, all I want to say is I hope you have this conversation. There is nothing to fear at looking into some form of gambling. You've heard Mr. Vicente come up here and tell you that the Queen of Hawaii, Queen Liliuokalani, one thing that hastened the overthrow of the kingdom was that the plantation managers were not the managers, the owners, supposedly, were so concerned that she was going to X them out of a vote by way of instituting a lottery that would pay for the roads. And it's an important piece of history that has been so overlooked by all the Hawaiian scholars. They give it just kind of a footnote in pages of things. And interestingly, it's very important. Gambling itself can be good or bad. We all know some people fall into it. Drinking, drugs, all the stuff. Some people will fall into that. Not everybody. I think it's appropriate time to look into the possibilities of what could come from this. And I don't know nothing about high stakes bingo. I don't know what begins high stakes in that. But I'm cheap. When I go Vegas, which has been, I can't afford to go Vegas for the rest of my life. I play like 2-deck 21, and I work from the bottom end up. I'm a bottom scraper, whatever you call it. So I think there's a way to come up with something appropriate that might work, or it could be trial basis. So let's drop a little bit of the fear and have an intelligent discussion on it. Thank you, council members.
Thank you. Okay, our last testifier in Hilo is Carrie Marks, and she'll making, comment on Communication 220. Morning, Carrie.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I wanted to just add on Communication 221. I agree with what Corey said about the gambling. I don't care for gambling. I don't care for lotteries or any of that stuff. We had a lottery in New York. We called it the idiot tax. So that's what I think about that. On Communication 220. This is the discussion on the home rule. Senate Bill 727, as you probably already have all looked up and noticed, is dead, we hope, which is good because it was a horrible bill that was opposed by pretty much everybody that testified on it, except for the Molokai Cattlemen's Association. So I don't know what the discussion there was with Mr. Dela Cruz, but they were the ones that liked it. This is a good example of what's happening statewide and nationwide with the attack on home rule. This is just one of dozens of bills that are going through the ledge right now that are basically usurping all of your powers, all of them. This one was going to say that you can't pass any laws that protect the health and safety of your people. Are you kidding me? That's offensive. So there's a whole bunch of those. We have to keep them in our sites. You pretty much have to read the hearing agendas every single day and every single week to figure out what's coming through the pipe. But just wanted to say that the people oppose all this centralizing of power. We appreciate you putting it on the agenda and bringing it up for discussion. We're with you. Please keep fighting the good fight. I also want to mention that I'm also testifying for Bob Patrici, Shannon Rudolph, and Karen Cobean, who share these thoughts. Karen wanted to make sure that you guys knew that the Banner Health is a private, what I wrote it down wrong. They don't pay taxes. That's what she wants you to know. So we're going to be losing the privatization of those hospitals means that you don't draw taxes off them anymore. This whole public-private partnership is just the new moniker for privatization. In the past, when the government couldn't handle stuff, they sent it out and they called it privatizing. Now that's become uncouth in some way, and so we've called it public-private partnerships, which gives you the impression that at some point the public's going to get something out of this, but we don't. I think that's pretty much most of my thoughts, and that's my 3 minutes. I timed it good, yeah? Have a good day, y'all. Aloha.
Thank you. Is there any other, Conan, looks like you have a testifier there.
Yes, I have Shannon Rudolph here, support of Communication 220.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Aloha. I want to thank Margaret for bringing this up. I've been watching the legislature for many, many years, and for the last couple of years, I've never seen such an assault on the rights of the counties and the rights of the residents. It seems like the last couple of years that monsters and demons are afoot up there. And I just want to reiterate what Carrie said, and thank you, I made it, Carrie. I just want to reiterate that if you don't pay attention, they will take all your rights away. Like in Wisconsin, Scott Walker passed laws that actually fired elected officials, elected county and city council people, by laws that they passed in the legislature that no one even knew was happening. And I want to encourage each of you individually to get on the email lists of good government organizations so you can keep an eye on what's going on, because it's so important. And also I ask that you Google failed public-private partnerships. There are many, many, many examples where the taxpayer ends up holding the bag for these select companies picked by three majority board members, and these laws are passed right under your noses. You don't even realize that they're happening, and before you know it, you have no rights. So I just want to say, please get on these good government lists yourself individually, and please Google failed public-private partnerships. And thank you, Margaret, for bringing this up. There's also about 8 little PLDC-like bills that have passed right now in the legislature, and for schools, for hospitals, for harbors, for, I think the park one died. There's one for submerged lands, and also a public-private partnership authority. Besides the PLDC light bills, right now there's a Media Shield law that's passed right now, and laws to deregulate and weaken the Public Utilities Commission. So all of these things are really important that counties must pay attention to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at the other sites, is there any other people that want to testify? No? Okay. And in Hilo, is there anyone who wants to testify? Okay, hearing and seeing none, let's go to referrals. Mr. Clerk, can you read in communication?